Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast, a virtual firehouse kitchen table with Matt, Adam, Brian, Doug, and Freddie, where they discuss everything that matters in today's fire service. Now let's get to the show.
I give massive props to stand-up comedians. That's got to be a hard job.
Yeah, just Cedric the Entertainer. His version didn't go over so well of Cat's joke.
Whoops. Dun dun. It's all about the delivery. Welcome back to the Cool Fireman Podcast. This is a special episode. Today we're going to be talking about conferences, fire conferences. They happen all over the country. FDIC in particular is coming up here in a couple of weeks. And the Cool Fireman Podcast, some of the co-hosts will be there mingling and tingling and ringling around and all that good stuff. So if you're going to be at the FDIC in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium, please try to find them. Give them a nice handshake. And when you do, give them a little finger rub. Adam loves that. The finger rub for sure.
I do.
Yeah, he does. Finger rubs and back rubs, baby. That's what it's all about. So come see us at FDIC. Anyways, so this is going to be a special episode. We were supposed to be recording episode 100 tonight, but we had a quick pivot. Look at me. I'm a Heisman. Quick pivot to a special episode because Doug had a family emergency. So we are here to send thoughts and prayers to his family, and hopefully everything's okay. It's nothing super tragic, let's hope. And so he's at home handling his family. And so we send thoughts and prayers to him, and I'm sure everything's going to be just great. Yeah. So just to start out with a little bit of housekeeping, sponsorships. Don 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 don. I don't know what I'm doing. Unkie Seasoning, please go to unkieseasoning.com. He's the man, the myth, the legend. He's at the top center of your screen if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube. Sorry if I'm speaking very fast.
It's because he's so excited about our sponsors.
I'm very excited. I love this podcast. I love hanging out with you guys. I love the community that we have created, and I'll get to that in a second. But Unkie's Seasoning, please. The Salty Fireman, right? Is that what it's called?
Yes, the Salty Fireman. The Hickory Smoked Salt is out.
Smoked salt, baby. Gets you some garlic and herb. I mean, come on. Buttery rosemary, the fire marshal, please.
Holy.
I put it on my next every single morning.
I was fixing to say, I was in one of the stores this past weekend where it was, and Adam, do you remember the text message that I sent you? No. I said,
No.
It is still the number one. No, I don't. You just send me so many. But the guy told me, he says, Brian, it's still the number one seller in the store. It blows it out of the water. And one of the local hardware stores that we're in here as well, they literally put it on popcorn that they give away in the hardware store.
Nice.
Number one seller. Just saying. It's the fan favorite in the local stores here.
For us.
I mean, how many times do we have to tell you people that are listening to our podcast, if you don't go to unkieseason.com and buy every single bottle on there, then you're going to miss out because it's going to sell out. Okay. Right, Unkie?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right.
The butter rosemary, I'm still waiting to get it back in stock.
That's a good problem to have.
Well, and Unkie,
left.
thank you to all the people that have bought his seasonings too. Right?
Yes.
So yes, go online on the wwws, on the interwebs, and get you some seasonings. And then to Tom, man, the burn box. Come on, dude. Excuse me. I have never been. So yeah, Burn Box and FD Collectors Club. I have never been like a firefighter trinket guy. I have one little fire like nutcracker that I got back in 2016 at some like white elephant party, and that's all I have. But I am loving. I just got the email that the Burn Box. You guys get the email. Burn Box is on its way. I'm like, hell yeah, dude! It's like Christmas.
I was literally with a guy today, my boss, who gets it as well. And I said, I checked my email and I was like, got a notification. He said, me too. He's like, I can't wait. I mean, it's one of those things where we now look forward to getting that notification with our shipping tracking numbers because there's always something awesome inside. At least one thing. I mean, if nothing else, the recipe in there is pretty good.
I think it's fun that there's about, I think 3 now guys at the academy that subscribe to the Burn Box. And we were out setting up stations the other day. One of them was wearing the Pro Pack gloves that we just got a couple weeks ago. one guy used a shove knife from Firefighter Tools of Babylon, fire swipe tool, so that we could get into the garage, because sometimes we forget the key up front. Nobody wants to walk, so we use the swipe tool. And then we were tying a ladder. We were getting it placed so that the students could do some ladder stuff, and we used some webbing, that purple webbing that I got a couple 2-3 boxes ago, and we lashed it to the building so that the ladder wouldn't move. So it's like, even if you're not using it on the fire ground, like, we're using it every day at the fire academy, which is awesome. So everything's getting used.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, what I love is the simple fact that there's functional things in the box. It's not cool little trinkets, right? Like I put my Gerber in my truck because I already had another one. So even if you get something in that box that maybe you already carry in your turnout gear, you're going to get something that you can keep another one of. And so you have redundancy, and we are all about redundancy in the fire service, right? So even if it's something that you had bought yourself, you got a backup now. And so you don't have to worry about that happening again. But it's cool because you literally get so much cool stuff in the boxes.
For sure.
Over
and the stickers too. Stickers.
It's just a really cool.
I can't spell redundancy, but I know what it means, and you're spot on. Okay, good stuff. Way to go. I love it. The burn box, half of it, 50% of it for me is just the fact that it's a surprise. I mean, the fact that I put my little butter knife in there once a month, and I open that sucker up, and I'm like, ooh, like a light comes up, and it's like the Messiah. I'm like, what? No way.
Can we talk about that cool T-shirt that you got on?
Hell yeah, dude.
Dude, look at that.
I love this T-shirt. The design is one thing, but I just love like the fit. It's like one of those kind of stretchy, like shows off my big guns. I love this. Working out is it's a big
cocky much.
I got an axe head thread hoodie on that I got from the burn box too.
Dude, oh, you got a hoodie and a burn box? That must have been before.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a burn box shirt on too. Look at us, Brian. You're behind that one.
I literally the one night I did not wear one. It was tonight.
All right, very good. So yes, go to our sponsors, HTTPs, and subscribe. Subscribe today. Special shout out, boys. We have got to give a special shout out. We don't do this enough. We talk about why we do this podcast, and we've said it a million times. We keep the conversation going. We continue the conversation about hard things in the fire service, whether they're pretty or not. Doesn't matter. We'll talk about it. But we also love the community that we have started and created and maintained now over 2 years. And I want to give a special shout out to Tanner Webster and Jerry Clark. And the reason I'm doing that is because those gents have recently commented on one of our podcasts on Spotify. And so the reason I'm doing this is I think that you should feel special as a part of the community of the Cool Fireman Podcast. And also, we want to push the more that you guys comment and let us know whether it's positive feedback or not. We'll use it. We love it. We can engage. It continues the conversation, but it also pushes out our podcast on those specific platforms, whether it's YouTube or Spotify. And it pushes out to more people. So I want to say thank you to those gentlemen, Tanner Webster and Jerry Clark, for making those comments on our latest episodes. So thank you. So that is a good segue. That's a good Brian East Coast Kelly segue.
You use my line.
Into special giveaway. We got a special giveaway coming up. We do have episode 100. Hopefully we record that next week, and that will post a week from today, which is if you're listening when this podcast
Friday
drops, I think it's dropping on whenever it is, Friday, 20 something. I can't bring this up or else I'll lose my notes. Anyway, so the special giveaway, if you make a comment on this episode, we're going to push this out on Instagram. If you make a comment on either YouTube or Spotify, we will put your name in a hat. Now, if you do it on both YouTube and Spotify, you'll get 2 entries. Hello. That's double. That's more. That's twice
That's
as much.
math.
You will get your name put in a hat. We'll probably do like a random generator online, and you can win one of these bad boys. A nice beer koozie. We'll probably throw in, I think I have a t-shirt that I can throw in there, and a couple extra. We have some coasters like made out of hose,
and some of Matt's mustache
but
hair
this will
shavings.
definitely be in there. See this right here?
It's authentic
this
now.
Is like a
That's
special.
free 99.
It has his musk.
Just for you. Just for you. Musk. Oh, I love that word. God, I love that word. That is such a great word.
I miss your musk.
I could say it. And not because, okay, anyway. All right. Very good. So yeah, you can win one of these things. So please, all podcasts are streamed on video on Spotify and YouTube. Please subscribe. And thank you for being part of the community of the Cool Fireman Podcast. The Cool Fireman Podcast. And remember, we're not the Cool Firemen. We strive.
We just like highlighting the cool firemen out there in the world.
Cool
so that's another thing. If you know of somebody
100%
that you think should be on the show, that you want to see us talk to, have a conversation with, that you want to learn more about, let us know. Comment, send them to the website. We do have a guest intake form on the website. Unkie and I were working on that a couple weeks ago. So if you know of somebody, or if you have a fun story you want to tell, fill it out. We'll get a hold of you. I actually had a suggestion today, so we're looking for a guest for it. From the academy, we have an instructor there who her boyfriend also works for a fire department, different fire departments. So she said, I would love to hear you guys have a conversation with a couple maybe that are both first responders and how they handle that, balancing it, like who is allowed to take the overtime, who gets to sleep in, like that kind of family dynamic. So that could be a cool conversation. So if you're out there, if you and your spouse are first responders, we want to talk to you.
I love that. That's a good topic.
That is a really good topic.
Shout out Danielle. She listens.
We have a couple
she
of
told me today. Good job, Danielle.
Hell yeah. Danielle. Okay. Shout out to Danielle. It's 3 people today that we're going to shout out. Thanks, Danielle. We're going to make that happen because that's actually a really good idea. So see how this works? I mean, this is the community that we built. This is amazing. So yeah, we have a couple other really freaking cool ideas for guests, and we're going to try to get them on. I'm not going to throw any names out there yet, but a couple of really freaking cool stories that everybody can relate to because they use their stuff. So that's like unbelievable. All right.
Well, I was just going to say, and I know I've got some folks lined up that have got some really cool stories about responses and their perspectives. A while back we did some Western North Carolina hurricane. We've got some people that responded to that. We said we wanted to let some time pass, right, and get the initial response, and now what does it look like? And so we're trying to work with them on scheduling. Then we have some folks that were incident commanders probably close to 20 years ago on some explosion events. And again, we want to get that perspective of what it was like to command it and how has the community changed their protocols and responses post-incident, right? What are the lessons learned? So little things like that we're working on as well. So we've got some, and that's the whole point of the feedback that we get from people. And we're going to talk about how we got that feedback at conferences here in just a second.
Whoa. Okay, but before we do that, we're going to do a quick moment of silence. And we are doing that for all of our brothers and sisters that we may have lost over this past week.
I want to give it just real quick before we do it. I want to give this one and dedicate this one to Camp Lejeune Fire and Emergency Services. They lost a brother at home yesterday. I don't know all the specifics of it, but I want to do it specifically for them.
I love that. Well said. All right. Really tough one yesterday. We covered a station for a different jurisdiction just south of us yesterday for a funeral.
That's awesome if you guys do. Terrible. It's horrible circumstances. I've done that a couple of times, but that's awesome that you guys did that.
It was kudos to the department. I mean, my department just keeps doing awesome stuff. And that's one of them, help the brothers. I mean, it's unbelievable. I knew the guy that passed away. I'd already talked about him. It was a couple months ago. I had talked about him, Kevin Skinner. Just an amazing dude, months away from retiring, 57 years old, on a fire, doesn't feel good, walks out, says, Cap, I don't feel good, and just face down in the grass, and had the big one, and they couldn't get it back. Unbelievable, but just such a great guy. I watched some of the funeral. I was streaming tears. It was terrible. Yeah, but anyways, that moment of silence goes out to all of our brothers and sisters. I mean, we lose them all over the country every week, so it's
18. I think
tragic
today,
thing.
LODD this year. 18. I think there's
Number
18.
what? Oh,
I
number
might
18?
be wrong. It might be up. But our sergeant of our academy, one of the cadets that we denote as sergeant, it's his job to come in every morning and update the LODD on the board. So last I saw it was 18.
It's crazy. Like, just sitting here talking about it, like, I noticed like my voice changes a little bit. Like, all of our like you start thinking about that. My God, you get like emotional without even wanting to. It's crazy.
It's very somber, right? It puts things in perspective for you real quick.
Yes. The story that Kevin's daughters talked about during the funeral put a lot of things in perspective for me. And I was like, Jesus, wow, unbelievable. To leave your 17-year-old kid, it's just unreal. So anyways, that's for them. We salute everybody across the country for that. And so let's move on to the topic of the day. So you guys, I think Brian and both Adam are going to be joining Tom at the Burn Box at FDIC. So
Doug,
I don't know.
Doug will be there as well.
Doug's going too.
Nice.
Yeah, Doug will be there.
I missed.
Dude,
I am missing.
I'm
out.
so disappointed. But
Freddie,
unfortunately for me, it was just too short a notice for me. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I was kind of along the same route. Hey, who's been to FDIC before?
Nobody.
I have not. I went to FRI, but I've never been to FDIC. I don't think Adam, any of us three have been.
Have you been to FDIC, Adam? I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
No, I haven't. And Doug hasn't. Doug has never been to a fire conference.
Boy. Wow.
So this is his first anything. So any conferences after this?
I was going to say, you better reel him in.
He's like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, his first football game is the Super Bowl.
Why do one of these? How come one of these
we
teams
set the bar?
Yeah, in a box seat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right, exactly. Yeah, he's going big the first time. So that's really cool. It's going to be in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium, where the Colts play, which is I think it's there every year, right?
Yes,
I think
it is.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And the Burn Box is sitting us.
They're right in
box,
Firefighter Row.
Yeah,
I saw the map the other day online, so I kind of scrolled around and whatever. And the line that we're going to be with Tom is an awesome line. Like Notorious Fire is right there. A bunch of our people that we've had on the podcast are right around us too. So as you're strolling down, stop by and snap a picture with the guys for sure.
Yes. I was going to say, and you know what's really cool? What I want to talk about, at least for FDIC, is I've had messages from people when I've shared the "Hey, come see us" FDIC infographic that Adam created. I had people who messaged me and who was like, "I'm going to be there and I'm going to meet you," and they're listeners of the podcast, and it was so cool to be able to, I saw what you did there, Adam, but it's so cool to be able to think that there are folks that are excited about meeting with us, but at the same time, how excited I am to meet these people, right? To engage and listen to some of them who comment, right, on the things that we share, and the stories that we tell. Ricky Bird,
I'm looking forward to
OG listener.
Yeah, an OG listener is talking about. He's like, I'm going to be there, and I was like, how A1 day one, and so it's so cool to think that we're going to be able to interact with some of these folks. Tom, who we've never met in person, but has been a huge supporter of the podcast, to be able to hang with him, and it's not just about in Lucas Oil Stadium, but it's about that time and that networking away from there that we're going to be able to spend. I kind of go back to the weekend that we had in Leland, Matt and Adam, and the conversation, I don't even know how late we stayed up and just talked and chatted and bonded, and the things that happened along with that, right? But it was so beneficial because of all the stuff that we did, and that's kind of what I'm excited about at FDIC, is making those connections, those same type of lifelong memorable connections with some of our listeners. And I think that that's some of the things that don't get me wrong, I'm super excited to sit in on some of the classes and learn from some of the best SMEs around the country. But for the listeners and the relationships that we've virtually made, to be able to make those connections.
Can I just say that I think it is so weird that people want to meet us. Do you know what I'm saying though? Like I don't feel like I'm anything special to be like, oh my God, I'm going to meet Freddie. But
we're not.
We absolutely are not. But there's still people that are like,
we're guys that they listen to.
There's still people
every
that are
Friday.
like, oh my God, I can't wait to meet East Coast Kellys.
Yeah, like what are they thinking?
I mean, I thought that way until I saw that hunk of a hunk. And I was all over him. He doesn't even have a middle seat in his truck, and I was all over it. Yeah,
I know.
And it was a stick shift too.
I was gonna say, if you could have seen the way he jumped over at the airport, I don't know how, but I told him, I said, I'm gonna teach my wife how to do it.
Let's put it this way: I've known Unkie for 5 years probably now, and I still haven't given him a big old bear hug. I gotta figure this out, and freaking quick.
Sounds like a personal problem, Fred.
You had a solution. I have a lot of
FDIC. We address this in the chat daily.
Hey, we're giving you another solution. We're going to SAFRE this year too in August.
We are going to SAFRE.
So we'll be at the South Atlantic Fire Rescue Expo.
The podcast is going to SAFRE.
We are going to SAFRE, and we're doing a leadership and culture class. Brian, we better bring our A game.
We got it. We bring it all the time, and
I'm telling you right now. I want to come out to like the Village People, and
young man,
young man.
But
after young man, and just like, who wants leadership?
And literally the whole place is dead silent, staring at us.
Yeah,
they're going, a bunch of like my God, what happened here?
Then a confetti cannon goes off. Pow! Yeah!
And we use up our entire 45 minutes on the intro.
Yeah, folks, this was not
a $3 budget at that top too, Freddie. So
this was not supposed to be a moment of silence, okay? Or maybe it is a moment of silence for our talk, but no way, dude. We're gonna kill it.
But go back to what Freddie said. I think the reason why people are excited to interact with us is because we are unapologetically willing to be human and talk about the things that affect the fire service, right? And I think that's what makes us so, I don't want to say attractive like physically, but so attractively in the podcast world, is that no matter where we're from, we were willing to talk about the things that are hard, right? And be open about how we're trying to find solutions to those problems, right? No matter who we are and no matter what department we're with, whether it's a DOD, whether it's a fire EMS department, or whether it's a straight fire only department, we are willing to try to find the problem or the solutions to those problems. And that's what people appreciate. And I think that's also what drives people to those conferences. It's not that the classes aren't good, but it's the conversations out in the hallways and meeting people and interacting and networking. There's a little thing surfacing around the internet right now about the NFA. And I don't know if any of y'all have had the chance to go to the NFA or not. And I don't want to put politics in the middle of this conversation, but I spent 6 months-ish of my career, at least at the NFA, for fire investigation training. And I can't tell you, I can tell you some of the stuff that I learned there, but the relationships that I built, Doug and I, point blank, the way that we started off in our chats, sidebar chats, was talking about a person that we both knew because of how I had met him at the National Fire Academy. That was the connection that Doug and I made away from the podcast, was because of someone that I had met at the NFA. And, you know, I've been in classes with people from Hawaii and Alaska and Texas and Oklahoma, and, you know, you name the state, and I probably had the class with somebody in it. And it is just so much value in that. And when you think about FDIC, not everyone has the opportunity to go to NFA, but when you walk FDIC, NFPA, FRI,
FDTN.
SAFRE, you get to connect, you know, whatever it is, you get to connect with those other cultures that have those same problems, just like in this podcast. But the beauty of it is you're not limited to 30 minutes. You're limited to as much time as you have in that hallway, an exchange of an email, an exchange of a phone number, and a lifetime of opportunity, right, to connect. And I think that that's the value in those moments like that right there.
Did you graduate from NFA?
Yeah. So,
You
I mean, you basically you get classes, right? So you can go through different programs, EFO and everything else. I have my CFI, North Carolina CFI, which is basically like a 10-year application process. So you go through all these different, you basically apply to get your certified fire investigator and sit for your exam. And so you have to take all these different classes. And so for probably over about 4 to 5 years, I would go and spend 2-ish weeks a year up there. So in total, it was probably 10 weeks. And then after that, you have to do Con Ed. And so then the back half, since I've picked up my CFI, I've gone at least once every 2 or 3 years for another week to 2 weeks at a time. Yeah. And it's so amazing to be able to connect up there. It's so amazing to go up there and go to the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial. You know, Freddie was talking about those LODDs, to see that flame that's constantly burning. But also to be humbled, if you will, by that LODD notifications. They have a board. And when you walk up to it, if you've never been to NFA, you don't know about this, but when you walk up, if there has been an LODD, they post that LODD on a cork board as you walk into the memorial. So if that LOD has happened, you have it. And sometimes there are multiple ones on that page. And so it is very humbling to walk it and to walk around and put your hands on those who went before us. Yeah. So anyways, 110%.
For all the people that are listening that are brand new firefighters or firefighters that don't know what LODD is, line of duty death. So, you know, I know we talk a lot of acronyms around here, National Fire Academy, NFA, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just want to make sure that people know what LODD is.
Yeah, sorry. And I don't want to get away from the conferences, but National Fire Academy is like a constant conference, right? Sure. It's just this ever evolving conference that fire departments really are able to do because it gives you the opportunity to go and attend. And I wanted to drop that one as well, because it doesn't have all the jazz and sizzle that, you know, those other ones have, but it is that same concept, if you will. It's that off-site national networking,
and it doesn't. You don't have to, like. Obviously, it's well known within the fire service that you have to make it to FDIC while you're in the service. Like, that's like the spot. You got to go once. They say. I'm pretty fortunate. I know actually a few instructors who instruct there every year. We've actually had 2 of them on our podcast. Sean Duffy from this is dumb. Culture. Good Lord. My brain stopped working, but he teaches a searchable and survival class that started out as 90 minutes and now it's 4-hour like class talking about searchable and survivable. And Frank Viscuso does a leadership class there every single year. So these are the pinnacle of people within our profession. But with that being said, like, don't feel like if you can't get to FDIC that, well, that's it. I can't do it, because there's all these little regional ones or state ones that you can, I guess you could say, like, get your whistle wet with. Like, there's one that just started. I think it's going on its 3rd or 4th year here in Michigan. Consequently started by Duffy. He lives in Michigan. but it's Great Lakes Hot. And they put it on for 5 days, and it's very similar. It's a lot of classes, hands-on training. They do live fire, RIT recon. They do tactical tick, whole bunch of fun classes that you can go and you can get learned up, and you can see different ways of doing things. And it's not just Michigan teachers. There's people that come from Oregon. There's people that come from, Kansas, whatever. And they come in and they teach because they are subject matter experts. They're passionate about their craft, and they want to make sure that the next generation of our career is set up for success, and we are passing that knowledge on. So, I mean, look it up. Go to FDIC, 1,000% go to FDIC, but look up your local areas and go to these conferences.
Yeah, most states have them.
It's worth your time. By far, it is worth your time to go to these.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other thing I'll say is a lot of those state ones that have like the show floors of the latest and greatest, if you just want to go if your department said, hey, I have no budget to send you at all, I can't put you up in a hotel, I can't do anything. Most places will have like a show floor that they will offer at no cost, right? Because usually the vendors will cover the cost of admission. You just have to go show like your fire department credentials, and most volunteer departments will at least have like some type of ID badge or whatever. But like Freddie said, you can go wet your whistle even at those just by taking a day trip. You and some buddies, and go walking the show floor, see the latest and greatest, right? Instead of just flipping through and looking at the new hydraulics or the latest and greatest enforceable entry tools, you can literally go walk and talk to people and interact with some of those folks on the show floor. Yeah, watch a demo, and it doesn't cost you anything, right? Go hang out with the guys. It's a great thing. I think it was Kenny who was talking about it, like from a peer group. It's a great way to go and talk on the way up and on the way back. And so even if you can't afford, or your department doesn't have a budget, I know a lot of rural volunteer departments are in this boat, right? And so at like SAFRE, Adam will tell you our busiest day was Saturday, and it was mostly volunteers who were coming up to do just that. They didn't have the budget to spend on, $150 registration to get in all the classes or whatever, but they knew that they had a need to go and look at equipment and also witness the demos. So that's the way that they did it. They went up there and they interacted and they saw and they engaged, they asked questions, they learned. And it's a great opportunity, right? So those are such cool things.
All right, let's start here. So I want to go to a conference, right? Like what's the experience like? You come in, how many days are they typically? What is it in like a huge like exhibition hall? Is it in like a convention center? Obviously we talked about FDIC being at Lucas Oil. So I mean, that's pretty large, right? It's in where the Indianapolis Colts play. It's in the size of a gosh darn football stadium. But like, what can I expect? I've never been there, let's say, and it's like, you get a lanyard. Do they give you like a welcome packet? Like, how does that work typically?
I'll chime in and I'll say majority of the ones that I've been to are usually between 3 and 5 days. The front end has this fancy opening ceremony for the white shirt mafia people, right? They get all dressed up in their Class A's. The honor guard comes in. They post colors. They have some big name person that does this 1.5 to 2 hour motivational speech. They have to pay them a lot of money, that kind of thing. And it's very, very moving, and it's very, very good. No. Is it for everybody? No, not necessarily, right? Do you need to be there? No, that's not the bread and butter. So there's a day you can cut out right there, right? So it's very cool. Don't necessarily have to be there. Some of the most memorable things that I've seen is where at some of those conferences, they will do a memorial service. Right. So I know that we honor and we take a lot of pride in that. SAFRE, those are tough, but I think it speaks to the tradition that we want to hold dearly to. So look at the schedule of those. You can usually see those on maybe day 2 or day 3 of those. And those are webbed into those classes, right? Usually day 2 or even pre-conference will be those hands-on, like what Freddie's talking about, those live fire days or whatever. So those are built in hands-on. And then those lecture classes are the day 2, day 3. And usually the day 3 is the day that the exhibit hall is open and overlaps with conference. And so that's usually the way it worked for me. Freddie, how is it for y'all in Michigan, or is it pretty
So
much the same thing?
the ones that I can speak to are actually like the IAFF convention that I've been to. I've been to 2 internationals, and I've been to 2 states, I think. 2 states. So yeah, you got a lot of vendors that are kind of off to the side in the vendor area, at least at the IFF convention ones. And then you have your big hall with a crap ton of chairs. Everybody's doing, you got your business, and you got your speakers, and you got stuff happening. But the coolest thing that I like about like the not the convention hall, but like the what's the word I'm looking for? The businesses with the exhibits
Vendors
is like everybody wants to show you how great their product is, and there are so many great products there. So the technology and the knowledge in the fire service right now is, I feel like, expanding rapidly. So there are so many different techniques and tools and this and that are becoming available. And while not every single one of them might have a practical application for your department, you might run across an exhibit and be like, holy cow, this tool is something that we have been trying to replicate with 3 different things on my department, and now they have one. And the Slamigan. Like, oh, if we could get Slamigans on every truck, Joe Cruz would be a billionaire. But I just think that outside of the classes I really do think are the meat and potatoes of a convention. It's what you should be going there for, because you have the best of the best giving all of their knowledge that they have trial and errored and feverishly spent hours of their time perfecting, and they want to give that knowledge to you. And then, if we're talking about a plate, your meat and potatoes are the classes. You've got the dessert, the whatever side dish are those exhibits that you can go in and just rub elbows, even with other firefighters who aren't there with a company. Like, you're going to run into people and be like, oh man, you work for Honolulu Fire? That's so cool. Tell me about it. And they might be like, oh my God, you work for Laguna Beach? Like,
I love hanging out with the Chicago guys are partying with them. They're awesome. And the guy, I forgot his name, that used to hang out. He runs the burn center for the IFF. The old, Freddie might know what I'm talking about. That old guy from Chicago that helps out with the burn foundation.
I couldn't tell you his name right now off the top of my head.
But yeah, there's some parties.
You know who else was dangerous to hang out with was Boston. When I was at the Cincinnati IFF convention, they did a little pub crawl, like 11 different areas, and you got a little stamp on a card if you hit all the bars. And we went into this one Irish bar, pub, whatever, and there was a bunch of Boston guys in there, and they didn't want to leave. Like, they had no interest in hitting all the other bars. They just were at this one, and they didn't care how much money they were spending. If you walked in, they're like, we got a new group of people, we're doing shots, and like, they were just passing it around, and you're rubbing elbows with somebody you may have never ever run into in your life, and you have so much in common, but you are so different, and it's the coolest thing to experience, in my opinion. The coolest.
So
Brian,
I'm shaking my head only because that's not a side that I've ever done, but it sounds
okay, Chief.
I mean, well, no, not necessarily. I haven't always been that guy, but I will say, I only because that's just not me. But
sure,
I do love hanging out at dinner, and I do love hanging out and having the chats at dinners. Maybe it's the same thing, maybe not by the same way of getting there, right? But the same conversations of just conversing with people. And I mean, I'm not here to say that that's the wrong way, right? But I think that there's different ways. There's different groups that get to the same end result, right?
Sure.
Of those lasting relationships that have so much value to that. Adam, I know you were at the Virginia conference last year as a vendor. What is that like as a vendor? And then how is it like at SAFRE as a vendor? Because you've seen it through a different light as an attendee and as a vendor.
Yeah, I've attended countless IFF conventions, conferences all over the United States. My 13 years as an officer, but SAFRE, the Virginia Fire and Rescue Expo is the state of Virginia's fire conference, and they have it in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Every year, it's in the month of February. Everybody from across the state, and some people from even North Carolina show up, Northeast North Carolina. But the expo side, being a vendor, I mean, the first year I was a vendor, I partnered with Taylor Tins, and in our booth was Capital City. Capital City is the helmet guys, fire alarm box grills, box 31, leather work, and I'm trying to remember who else it was. Anyways, BA Shields, that's it. Always hanging out with BA Shields. And we just had a good time. It's a nice, the expo hall is really cool. SAFRE is a little bit larger at their conference center because it's in Raleigh. It's just been fantastic. We'll be down there this year. We're going to be with one of the state associations, state fire associations.
I think it's the regional association. So the Eastern Carolina, the Piedmont, and the Western. You're sharing the booth with the regional association.
Yeah, nice. We're partnering up with them this year. So yeah, last year we partnered up with Taylor's 10 and BA Shields. So
how does it feel to be on the other side of the table? I guess is my question, right? As kind of to Freddie's point, he's like, hey, I can go see all the latest and greatest and I can do all this other stuff. But as a firefighter, what is it like to be as a vendor, right? Like, how do you feel? I don't want to say serving firefighters. I mean, that's day in and day out, right? Like,
I think it's pretty cool because everybody comes to Taylor. That's a line. Everybody hits Taylor's. That's how it was. Everybody went to Taylor's 10. As soon as you check out with him, I'm standing right there. Like right beside him.
Your mama roped him in too.
Oh yeah. My mama was working the crowd, man. Me and my parents come with, they're going to be down at SAFRE again this year. So my parents, love having them with me. They're some of my best friends. They are my best friends.
Yes.
So
I get to meet Mama McCoy.
Yeah. Yeah. Mom and Papa Mac. Yep.
Papa Mac?
Papa Mac and Nana. They'll both be down there.
Oh, it's
Return of the
Papa
Mac
and Nana. Okay,
yes.
good.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So so you got out of line with Taylor. Then it was me. Then right beside me was BA Shields. And we did like a giant line.
That's awesome.
It was great. Everybody's, but yeah,
I was gonna say we had to do some side hustle favors for some folks that I knew who were like, Brian, we can't stand in line. Like, can we get our pack and like hook us up on the side? Because it was literally that long of a line for Adam seasonings. So I was like, okay, yeah, we can do that. So I mean, and I probably shouldn't have said that right then, but it's they're gonna be like, hey, Brian, can we get
the inside thoughts come out again?
It was. I
Hey,
know.
If you listen to the podcast, you get these insights. Okay,
there you go. But it was so cool to watch Adam. I'm going to brag on him for a second, to see him and his parents in their element, as well as some of the other folks that have been so good to us as vendors, as first responders, serve their people. And that's why I wanted to ask him for that, or Wes Broad, right? Russell at his booth, and some of the other folks that have been so good to us, Sam from High Vis, and the energy that they have at these expos, because I think that you could, I mean, obviously it's about making money, right? They have expenses, they have things that they need to do. But, we go to these conferences knowing that we won't make a dime and we're going to spend, I don't want to say mega bucks, right? But we're spending department dollars, right?
Yeah.
On going to these. But at the same time, the look on these faces, Adam, he grinned the entire time he was there. He had a grin on his face because of just seeing people and interacting with people and making new friends. And it was so cool because we had a hurricane out on the coast.
I dodged 2 tornadoes on the way to SAFRE. They were in like single digit miles of me. Active tornadoes going.
Ain't nothing stopping Unkie.
We dodged twice.
What was it? You gave out Little Debbie's. Because wasn't it like Hurricane Debbie's or whatever? And so at his booth, he was handing out Little Debbie cakes. Genius. It was so cool, though, because, again, it was all about connecting with it. So whether it's a relationship that's business, right, for Adam, or whether it's the business side of being a firefighter and connecting with people, man, the value that these conferences have. And, we've talked about the classes and the things that we learn, but I wish the people that have never been, like you said, Matt, and to your point of the questions, like what does it look like?
Yeah.
If you could take that energy and put it in a bottle, right? And I think, oh gosh, National Fire Radio, Jeremy, I had a brain fart too, Freddie, right then. But Jeremy, he said it so well on the episode that he was just on, where he says, that's what recharges me, right? And I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever been to that conference, that's what recharges me. I go away to these conferences, I connect with old friends, I make new ones, and I come back kind of reinvigorated from maybe 10 minutes out of an hour and a half long class of what I learned, right? And Matt and I joke about this leadership class. Someone's going to learn about 10 minutes after that 4-hour class. That's it. They're going to take one little nugget and that's it. And we're going to consider ourselves made, right? Like we will have made it and that's good, right? But at the same time, they're going to take 1 or 2 little nuggets out of the 3 or 4 classes and come back. But what they're really going to have valued is the relationships that they made and the conversations that were had. That's the best part about it, right?
Yes, and that's why I really look forward to FDIC because I'll be able to see, Taylor and Lucas would be there, Russell, Chris, all the guys that I've hung out with at previous conferences, that they're going to be there. And so, like, everybody gets pumped up about fire stuff. I get pumped up about the business, the small businesses, and we sit there and chit chat, and just see how everybody's doing. Then turn around like a SAFRE last year. No, Leland. These 2 knuckleheads, when we went down during pillow talk time, it was just giggling. Matt kept trying to tickle me. We were tickling each other, but we're
don't believe any of that. Don't believe any of that.
We were talking like content. We were recording podcasts. We're coming up with ideas. Matt and Brian were interviewing, and it was just fit for a job. Sorry, it was great times. But we really recharged, and we had some good ideas. And since then, even our podcast has taken a step forward from those conversations. So it's been fantastic.
Yeah. Adam, do you not corroborate this statement that starting a small business, okay, firefighter or not, but obviously we're firefighters, so we'll go that route. But starting a small business is almost like investing in a penny stock. It's like one step above it. I'm sure hopefully you end up in the positive at the end of the year, right? But it's, the amount of effort and time that you put into that for it to maybe work out, right? It's got to be more about the passion and the community. Just like the reason why we started this podcast is to why you do it. You know what I mean? And you keep saying, and you've said it a few times, it's like, I'm looking forward to seeing all these cats from West Broad and Tom from Bird Box, all these people, Sam, at these conferences, because it's just the community that we built and the community that we have as a fire service as a whole. Yeah. Right?
It's another form of the brotherhood.
And that is like the coolest thing about the fire service, or one of the coolest things about the fire service. Not only is it the greatest job in the world that we get to do, we get to help people. And I say that for a reason, and I'll explain later. But outside of that, it's the community, right? All these like-minded entrepreneurial minds. We're all ADD type people in the fire service, which we learned with Stephanie. Yeah, like squirrel, right? I mean, Stephanie from our from what was it, podcast number 99, just the most previous one with Stephanie. We talked about that, and unfortunately, I wasn't there. I loved listening to it. I wish I was there for the conversation, but I wasn't. Yeah, awesome. But that's what these conferences are, right? It's like seeing the community, and it's not just like talking about it and the emotions that you get about talking about it right now, because I'm sure Adam's like reminiscing on those feelings that he got about when he was talking to these people and giving, but it's the touch, dude. It's the bro hugs. Like, what up, dude? How's things going? How's the family? How's the business going? All this great stuff. But that's no different than what happens inside the firehouse. You know, like every single shift I come in now, right? And it's what's going on? How's the family? How was your 4-day off? Whatever. How was your vacation? All this great stuff. And that's what makes the fire service so great. I mean, yeah. So anyways,
let's do it this way.
I don't want to go negative.
I think no.
He's out of gas.
There's a fucking negative side to it. You know,
No. I was going to say, if we could put a bow on it, how about we do a call to action, kind of to put a bow on it? Let's do it this way. In the comments, tell us your favorite conference that you attend. And if you don't attend one, what would be the one thing that you would want to take away from a conference based off of everything that we've said, right? Would you be in it for the relationships? Would you be in it for the classes? What do you think that thing based off of what we said would be what you want to gain?
Yeah.
So that way we can kind of, because I think we could find value kind of like we did in Leland, right? Pillow talk till 1 a.m. It's good times. We could do that. But
it's amazing.
Yeah. So I think this has been a great episode. You got to come see us at FDIC. You got to come see us at SAFRE.
Come by and tell Big City Doug that he's your hero.
Can I add one last thing? Sorry. I know you kind of closed it off, Brian. I'm sorry. Dude, I just ran into this retired LA City fireman yesterday, and he came in. I won't tell you the circumstance, it's not a big deal, but he comes to the firehouse and he starts talking to me, and his daughter just got hired as a dispatcher with us. And we're sitting there talking about the new generation and how important it is to, if you don't have the resources in your state to learn new things and be progressive in the firehouse and want to learn how to do center hallway fires, want to learn how to do garden style fires, want to learn how to do high rise fires, go learn from the experts. And no better place to do it than these gosh darn conferences, right? There's classes all over the country that you can learn this kind of stuff, but be a student of the fire service. And I'm not going to lie. Like, I feel like before I talk to him, and everybody does this. It's like a human thing. It's just, you kind of come down, you kind of get comfortable. You got your family you're dealing with. You feel like you're doing some training with your guys, but there's more to learn. And I really like talking to this guy. He was he had worked for LA City for 33 years. And one of the things he told me is, dude, it was so powerful. It was so easy, but it was so powerful. He told me, he goes, when I'd come into work, I would look at my fireman. I say, listen, you don't want to run a fire today. You need to move off my engine. Because he would listen to the radio, and if a fire popped downtown, he told me he'd get on the horn with dispatch and say, dispatches to that fire immediately. And he said 99% of the time they say, you got it, boss. And they would send them, and they would be on a fire. Not only are they working with different people, they would do mutual aid with different fire departments like Santa Monica, the surrounding departments of LA City. He goes, it creates great camaraderie. Not only do we have that, but we also learn more about different types of fires, but you do it. You don't. And one thing that Jeremy said from NFR, right? He was just on podcast 98 with us. He said, leadership, all this kind of stuff, you don't learn the most unless you do it. You got to do it. And I'm like, that is so 100% correct. And the last thing that I'll end with what this guy told me was, I said, and I'm not going to throw anybody that I work with under the bus at all. But there are those guys just like, I'd rather not go on a wildland fire. I'd rather not be away from my family for 2 weeks. I'd rather not do that. And his look at me was kind of like, he kind of cocked like his head, like he made a weird noise around a dog. You know what I mean? Like, really? Yeah. Like there's guys like that. I mean, he understands, he knows that there's guys like that. And there's different types of personalities in the fire service. But what he said and what I said previous, and I said I was going to come back to it, was, isn't that what we're here for? To help people? And I was like, I'm like, God, that was just like so easy. Right. And it brings me back to like an easy, like fire panel interview. Why do you want to be a firefighter? And the easy answer, right, is I want to help people. And to me, like, that's
we always balk at that answer though.
Because why are we firefighters, guys? Because our number one thing that we do as firefighters is we are there for the community. We don't clean the rig for ourselves. We don't clean the rig just so that we can, gain muscles in our arms and make our fire rigs look good. We do it for the community because that's not our fire rig. That's not the fire department's fire rig. Yeah. That is the community's fire rig. And we take pride in making sure that it is equipped with what it needs and it's clean. And while we're cleaning it, what are we looking for? Defects. And we might find something while we're cleaning it, right? It sounds cliche, but maybe not to some people. Maybe it does to us, but that's 100% why we do it. And it's all for the people. It's all for the community. So if I can go out for 2 weeks and sleep in the dirt and learn something about how to save a community in the wildland, then I just made myself better. And if I can't do that, I'm going to go out of state and I'm going to go to a conference. I'm going to go to FDIC or SAFRE. I'm going to learn about different versions or different visions of what leadership is. And that's what Brian and I intend to do, is bring our experience about why does somebody want to work for Captain Rolf, or why does somebody not want to work for me? Right. And so that's it. And that's going to be our class. And I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. In fact, Brian, how many people are going to be attending that, you think?
Well, in our classes, the room will hold up to 70. In attendance at that conference will be about 10,000.
So let's pack it.
Let's pack over 3 days. Let's pack it. Let's get 70. Let's get 70 people in the room, standing room only, right?
We're going to
get people at the door that says no more, right?
So if you're listening to this podcast, we'll be at SAFRE. Brian and I are going to do a class. Adam's going to be there. Absolutely. He's going to be part of it. We have a whole thing that we've put together. It's going to be fantastic. And
Friday afternoon, South Atlantic Fire Rescue Expo.
I can't wait. So great. Awesome. Great podcast. I think it's been a good overview, a good intro into what a fire conference is, or, what you might expect. And so the people that are new to fire, didn't know about conferences, maybe you know a little bit more. And that was our intent for this podcast. So hopefully you learned something. I did. So good deal. Awesome podcast, guys. Anything no, that was good to add?
That was great.
Perfect. I love it.
Stay tuned next week for episode 100.
Yeah, barring any family emergencies, we're really trying to get all 5 of us on for episode 100, or else we would have done it today. But when Doug said, "Hey, I'm out. I got a little family emergency I got to deal with," we said, "Okay, we're doing a special episode and we'll just postpone it. No big deal." But if you comment on Spotify or YouTube or both, we're going to put your name in a little generator and you can win one of these cool little koozies, and I'll add a couple extra little things from
everybody. We've got stuff.
We've got tons of stuff. Yeah, we still have a J5 lid for a Phoenix helmet that we need to give away. So we've got tons of stuff we can give. Yeah, great stuff. Awesome. Who's going to roll us out?
Roll it, Gigi.
Roll it, Gigi.
Before you leave, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give these firemen a huge thumbs up. Also, make sure you check out the coolfireman.com for more. Thanks!